Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon, everyone. For my remarks today, I would like to take the opportunity to remind us, after 2 full days of committee meetings, why we're all here, and that's for teaching and learning. And so I want to introduce to you all and have a few minutes to spend time talking with a professor and a student, current professor, current student of Temple University. And so first, I'd like to introduce Professor Jessica Jane Julius. Professor Julius is the head of the Glassblowing program here at Temple University. She has 2 decades of experience working with glass. I had the opportunity to go to the studio a couple of weeks ago, and she gave me a tour and allowed me to participate with the students during class. I got a chance to make a little something during class. It didn't look like the students.
Yeah, he was a natural.
I
Born natural.
was not a natural, but thank you for saying that. But it's the #1 glass blowing program in the world. And it's just really fascinating to see the quality of our studio. If you haven't had a chance to see it, please reach out to Dr. Julia so she can take you through the studio. But I wanted her to have the opportunity to talk to you because when I was there observing, what I learned was that this is a very hands-on program. As you can imagine, the students are working with all kinds of tools to form glass into beautiful structures. During COVID, they had to adapt to be able to create the environment that is safe, but still be physically able to manipulate the glass and the material. And so they did some innovative things to be able to do that. So I wanted her to come here today to tell you a little bit about the program, but more specifically about the way in which they pivoted the teaching and learning process to adapt to the restrictions of COVID. Professor Julius.
Well, thank you for having me. This is my first board meeting at Temple.
Speak as loudly as you can.
Yeah, okay, this is my first board meeting at Temple, so it's very exciting. I'm actually the president of the International Glass Arts Society, so I do attend these board meetings, types of board meetings. You know, I think the pandemic has hit all of us very hard in a lot of ways, and especially our students. But with the arts, it's normally so hands-on, right? Like with glass blowing, have you all seen Blown Away on Netflix? Anyone? Well, that can be on your
homework.
Yeah, that's your homework to watch the glass blowing. But it's naturally a collaborative process. You know, you're relying on a community of people and working closely with other people. And that just did not work with the pandemic. So we did multiple things. One was we no longer took off our masks and actually blew on the end of the pipe. So we had to adapt physically to how we were approaching making this material that's been made like that since the Romans. And so we connected to people all around the world, and there was an artist in New York who made a blow hose extension from the mask that then hooks up to the pipe, 3D printed, and we bought all of those for all of the students. So the students could wear those and actually continue to blow. So it was also talking about innovation, right? And teaching students that we can adapt and we can do all of these different things, even when times are hard. And I think taking every kind of opportunity as a learning opportunity is crucial. We also figured out all kinds of cleaning procedures. We changed curriculum in the sense not to change the course outcomes and goals, but how we were getting there so that students could still engage this material. I mean, glass is everywhere, right? It's coating all of our buildings. It's in technology. It's in your screens. And so how we are engaging this material, we really dive deep into that and change some of those things. And I'll tell you, I think those students are so inspiring and have, they inspired me and made the pandemic actually survivable, you know, because of their energy and their willingness to adapt and to learn.
So I'm making up questions as I go.
Yeah.
This is the best way to do it. But
Yeah.
give us an example of one of your students. Where do your students come from? So just pick one student, tell us where they're from, what they did before they came to Temple, maybe what they did after, if it's an alum, or what they are currently doing in addition to being in school.
Okay, well, we have, an undergrad program and a graduate program. So I think to use an example, you met Jason, who is one of our first year graduate students who just came from Tacoma, Washington, from a hilltop school there. He is in his 30s and he's been traveling the world blowing glass and is one of the best glass blowers in the world, and chose to come to Tyler to continue to study this medium. He came not necessarily to continue to build skill because he has it, but he came because Tyler is the leading interdisciplinary program. So that is a way for him to connect and to expand his practice in the way he's engaging the arts in the world, right? Like this isn't, we don't have like, oh, you do this, and that equals this. You come into the arts and it's creative. So you can end up starting a small business. You can just be an artist and live making art. We have a lot of people working in museums and curatorial. We have people that are starting nonprofits and community access centers, and doing outreach projects to things like the mural arts that you see in Philadelphia. So we have such a range of things that our alumni are doing. So he hasn't graduated yet, so we're yet to see what he's doing, but many of our undergrad are really a lot of local students that are from the surrounding areas, and they're coming from mostly blue collar families, so they're working and they're going to school at the same time. So these kids are working extremely hard. I cannot even explain to you that they will put in 60 to 80 hours a week working in the studio and then go work a job. So that just makes my job more important and how I prepare them for their graduation, right? And set them up for success when they leave. Yeah.
So thank you very much again for being here. Professor Julius, if you want to go and visit the glass blowing studio here at Temple, let us know. We'll connect you with her so that you can have a tour, you can interact with the students, make some glass, and really have an authentic Temple experience. But thank you for being here and joining us today and sharing some of that. Okay, next I'd like to introduce a current student. So Miss Justine Jones, whom I had the pleasure to meet a couple of weeks ago also, is a freshman here at Temple studying nursing. And I had the chance to meet her at a press conference we had with Independence Blue Cross. So Temple University, Independence Blue Cross, we formed a partnership, and that partnership allows for grants to be given to high school students, top high school students in the Philadelphia area, right around here, to be able to come and study nursing at Temple. And so the question is, well, why are they doing that? One, there's a shortage of nurses in the country. And two, there's a real shortage of nurses in urban hospitals and health systems. And number three, there's an extra shortage of minority nurses. And we know that there are correlations between patients of color or from other cultures having the same culture, being able to care for them. If you have that, you do better, you heal better. If you don't have it, you can get good care, but there's data that says that, particularly for people of color, for African Americans and Latinos, that you need to have care representative of your own culture and race. And so Independence Blue Cross says, this is something that we want to do. It supports their business model. They partner with us because we are here in North Philadelphia serving the community, and they've allocated resources to be able to do that. So Miss Justine Jones is a freshman here. She is the recipient of one of these grants. And I wanted you all to meet her because she's going to be sitting in your seat in about 20, 25 years. She's really impressive, as are all of the grantees. And I just wanted, Justine, for you to share a little bit about where you grew up, where you went to high school, who you are, what you like, and why you think this particular program is best for you and what you're going to do with it.
Hi, everybody. My name is Justine Jones. I am 18 years old. I am an African-American female. I'm also an older sister to a quite annoying 15-year-old who steals all of my clothes, which he can't. But I grew up in North Philadelphia pretty much my whole life. And I grew up with a single mom. She worked very, very hard to provide for my family. It was me, my sister, my grandma, and my older cousin, all in the same household. My mom was an LPN for a majority of my life, and then in 2019 graduated with her associates in RN license. I've seen my mom work so very hard to financially provide for the five of us all together. And growing up, I took a adult role by, cooking and cleaning and making sure my sister's homework was done, making sure my homework was done. So from a very young age, I was a little bit more responsible compared to some of my other friends. And then when applying to high schools, I was looking at, Central and Girls High and Little Flower. And my mom suggested Crystal Ray, and she told me to do my own research into it. I said, okay, great. When I looked into Crystal Ray, the first thing that caught my eye was their work study program. And as soon as I got into Crystal Ray, I was begging and pleading for them to put me in a hospital. I knew what I wanted to do since before I even got into high school. I didn't know what specialty, but I knew exactly what I wanted. And coming into Crystal Ray, the first 2 years of my high school career, I worked at Penn Medicine's HR department. My junior year, I worked at United Way, helping at a tax site where people got their taxes done for free for campaigns for working families. And then my senior year, during the majority of COVID, I did a research project on food insecurity for mainline health. And individually, all of these different things have built my confidence over time to be able to articulate my words better and to help other people understand the importance of youth being able to have a good amount of skill sets coming out of high school. And although I'm the youngest person in the room, this is not my first board meeting. At my high school, I was a student representative for our board as well. So I've been to maybe 2 or 3 board meetings prior to this one. And along with that, coming out of high school, or actually even still being in high school, it was quite an adventure. I've been through a lot of different trials and tribulations in high school that not a lot of teenagers have to go through. And it was a lot of work. But Crystal Ray has helped me in so many different ways. And people are just like, oh, you keep going back to your high school, keep going back to your high school. I love every person there like they're my own family. And coming into Temple, I felt that same energy when I got here. Like, President Wingard, he gave me the energy that I needed coming in here. At orientation, seeing how excited he was, and him being the first Black president of Temple, it gave me hope. It gave me some type of excitement to be here. And it's the same excitement that I had at Crystal Ray. So I knew that coming into Temple, it was a really good idea, not only financially, but emotionally and support-wise. Like, it was a really good idea. As pertaining to the scholarship that I just recently received through IBC, they have been really supportive in helping me understand that the help that I'm currently receiving is not only for my benefit, but for the future benefit of other minority people. I have been advocating to the death of me, to my high school, that we need more minorities, especially Black minority men in STEM. We need minority females in STEM. I did robotics for 3 years at Crystal Ray, so I'm a very big STEM person. And all of the interests that I did in high school, down to me being a tour guide for large companies for our school, to robotics, to a soccer player, even to me having a advocacy group called Speak Out at Crystal Ray. And we worked our butts off to do quite a bit of work in the city. And all of these different things help build me up as an individual person and help me understand that my community needs more than just money. My community needs more love, compassion. They need people who look like them to help them. So ultimately, my ending decision in my specialty is to become a trauma nurse and to work at Temple in their emergency department, so that people who look like me do not get scared to come in and receive the help that they need. Because a lot of the time, they're scared that they come in and they don't think they'll understand what their pain or what their problem is. And me from personal experience, having somebody who looks like you understand you and feel your pain and be able to sympathize with you makes the world of difference. And I'm a very strong believer in that one single conversation can change somebody's whole perspective. That's it.
Woo. Any questions for our distinguished student already?
Justine, I'm just, as a chairman of the board, none of the trustees make any money here. We work for free, but listening to you, we know why we're here. So congratulations, and we're excited to have you as part of the Temple family, and hopefully 25 years you'll be sitting here, maybe less.
I just wanted to know, first of all, an extremely impressive presentation, but I was particularly impressed that you mentioned the need for Black males. That was very, very compelling that you said that.
In my opinion, I just think that overall, especially in healthcare, there is a lot of stigma around nurses being strictly female or even Black females at that. And I used to come back to my school, even after I graduated. I was an assistant summer school teacher for Algebra 1. And I would talk to all the students and they would just say, oh, I want to do football, I want to do basketball. And I'm like, that's amazing. And I support you in that. But I would suggest that you venture off into something that you are interested in outside of physicality. Because if something happens to you physically, what other backup plan do you have? And in my personal opinion, medicine is the best thing to go into because it has so many branches, so many different ways to not only make money, but be supportive in that. Nurses are not just a one surface level type of career. I can get my master's in nursing, my doctorate in nursing. That's not a lot of, knowledge people have at this point. A lot of people think that nurses are here to just listen to the doctor and do what we're supposed to be told. Not knowing that nurses play a vital role in the functioning hospital and even the functioning facility overall. And I'll just let them know, like, if you like people and you feel as though that you are really good with talking to people and doing certain things, like I could probably connect just about anything to being in medicine, if I'm being honest with you, or being in the STEM and connecting how, you need to know how to throw a ball at a certain angle to get it to reach a certain point. You need math for that. You need to know the basics of physics for that, and trying to encourage them to focus more on studies and to venture off into deeper in their knowledge rather than just saying, hey, I'm so really good at being in basketball, but you could be so much better in so many other things.
Well, you're such a good ambassador, and
Yes.
we're really proud of what you have accomplished thus far. We're going to be following you, and so continue to work hard, and thank you for being here today.
Thank
Justin.
you.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. We're going to move on to the standing committees. So Committee on Trustee Affairs, Trustee Barrett. Lenny, you're on mute.
Yep, I just turned it off. Thank you.
Okay.
I move that the Board of Trustees, upon the recommendation of the Committee on Trustee Affairs, duly elect the Honorable Mitchell L. Morgan as Chair of the Board of Trustees of Temple University of the Commonwealth System of Higher Education to serve until the next annual meeting of the board in accordance with the bylaws of the university.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
And record that I
And
I abstain.
for the record, the chairman has abstained from that vote.
Mr. Chairman, now that you're chairman again, you forgot the minutes, so just get the minutes approved.
Thank you very much.
Number two is the election of the university trustees.
Excuse me 1 second. Trustee Diaz was right. Can I have a motion to approve the minutes as on July 6th?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the minutes?
Aye.
Any opposed? I'm sorry, Phil, you're next, number 2.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman. The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees, upon the recommendation of the Committee on Trustee Affairs, re-elect the individuals listed below to the Board of Trustees of Temple University of the Commonwealth System of Higher Education for 4 years, effective immediately in accordance with the bylaws of the university. Leonard Barrett, Joseph Corradino, Marina Katz, and William Mills, and I so move.
Second.
And I recuse myself.
Okay, having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 3.
I move that the board, upon the recommendation of the Commonwealth appointing authorities and the Committee on Trustee Affairs, re-elect Charles Ryan and Christine Tartaglione for terms effective immediately to the Board of Trustees of Temple University of the Commonwealth System of Higher Education as set forth in Agenda Reference 3.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees, upon the recommendation of the Board of Directors of Temple University Health System, approve the appointments of the individuals listed below to the Board of Directors of the TUHS, each for the balance of 3-year terms ending 2023 in accordance with the bylaws of that. Lon Greenberg and Eleanor Reinhardt, and I so move.
Having a
Second.
motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any
Aye.
opposed? Motion carries.
I abstain.
Okay,
Number 5, I move that the board, upon the recommendation of the Committee of Trustee Affairs and the Board of Directors of TUHS, approve the reappointment of the individuals listed below to the Board of Directors of the Temple University Health System, each for a 3-year term in accordance with the bylaws of the Temple University Health System. And I'll enumerate all 5, starting with Dan Paulette, Martin Ogletree, Christopher McNichol, Ed Glickman, and Paul Trucillo.
Second.
having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, any opposed? Motion carries. Number
Abstain.
6.
Recommendation is that the Board of Trustees, upon the recommendation of the Committee on Trustee Affairs, appoint the following individuals as Directors of Temple Education Support Services to hold such office in accordance with the bylaws of TEPS. Jason Wingard, ex officio, Mitchell Morgan, ex officio, Nelson Diaz, Louis Gould, Kenneth Kaiser, Solomon Lua, Joseph Marshall, Gregory Mandel, Leon Mulder, Dan Paulette, and Matt Wilson. And I so move.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, I will just assume that people that are not going to vote for themselves will recuse themselves. So all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 7.
Number 7, appointment of Chair of Board of Overseers, Temple University, Japan. I move that the board, upon the recommendation of the Committee on Trustee Affairs, approve the appointment of Paul Kuo as Chair of the Board of Overseers, Temple University, Japan, effective immediately in accordance with the bylaws of Temple University, Japan, as set forth in Agenda Reference 7.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number 8.
8 is that the Board of Trustees, upon the recommendation of the Committee on Trustee Affairs, appoint the officers listed below to hold such offices in accordance with the bylaws of the university. Jason Wingard, Larry Brandolph, Ilum Guy, Cameron Ecstasy, Michael Gebhardt, Valerie Harrison, Arthur Johnson, Kenneth Kaiser, Gennaro Leva, Gregory Mandel, David Marino, Michelle Masucci, Teresa Powell, and Nina Weisford. And I so move.
Second. Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Number
9,
9.
resolution of appreciation. I move that the board, upon the recommendation of the Committee on Trustee Affairs, approve the resolutions of appreciation for the individuals listed below as set forth in Agenda Reference 9. University Trustee Patrick J. O'Connor, Esquire. Ex officio participants Rafael Parada Doria, Quinn Litzender. I so move.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Before we move on to 10, I'd just like to, I thought Patrick O'Connor would be here today. I'd like to have a reception if we could. He's been on this board for 40+ years. And so I think besides just a resolution of appreciation, I think we should schedule some in-person recognition of all the time and the love and the efforts that he's given to this university to make it better. So yes, the resolution goes without saying, but we need to really physically have some type of reception.
It's an excellent idea.
Excellent.
All right, moving on to number 10.
Final recommendation of the Trustee Affairs Committee is that the Board of Trustees, upon the recommendation of the Committee on Trustee Affairs, approve the election of Patrick J. O'Connor, the honorary life trustee of Temple University of the Commonwealth System of Higher Education, and I so move.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Does that conclude your report? Thank you very much. Okay, moving to the executive committee, Trustee Richards.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. The Board and Standing Committee scheduled meetings for 21-22. Recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the schedule of meetings for the Board and Standing Committees for 2021 and 2022 as set forth in Agenda Reference 12, and I so move.
Second.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Next is the borrowing authority, and the recommendation is that the Board of Trustees authorize the officers to borrow for operating purposes of the university $30 million on terms which the officers believe best for the university, such authority to cover the period from November 1, 2021 through December 31, 2021, as set forth in Agenda Reference 13, and I so move.
Second.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes my report.
Thank you, Trustee Richards. Moving on to alumni relations, Trustee Barrett.
Item number 15. I move that the Board of Trustees, upon the recommendation of the Alumni Relations and Development Committee at its meeting on November 2nd, approve the amended gift agreement for the Lewis Katz School of Medicine. I so move.
Second.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
That concludes the report.
Thank you. Moving on to academic affairs, Trustee Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the report of the Academic Affairs Committee may be found at agenda reference number 16. We do have some recommendations for action. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees, upon the recommendations of the Academic Affairs Committee and the President, approve the granting of faculty tenure.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item 18. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of the Academic Affairs Committee that the officers be authorized to reorganize the departments in the Fox School of Business and Management and redesignate or transfer the tenure of faculty as further set forth in Agenda Reference 18.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 19.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item number 19. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of the Academic Affairs Committee that the officers be authorized to establish and terminate various curricula in the Fox School of Business and Management as further set forth in Agenda Reference 19.
Second.
Do I have a motion and a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Agenda item number 20. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of the Academic Affairs Committee that the officers be authorized to establish and terminate various curricula in the College of Public Health as further set forth in the agenda reference 20.
Second. Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, agenda item number 21. Mr. Chairman, it is my profound pleasure and honor to move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of the Academic Affairs Committee that the officers be authorized to establish a minor in hip hop, dance, and culture in the
Only if
Boyer
you can do
College.
it.
As long as, yeah, I knew that was coming. In the Boyer College of Music and Dance, as
Second.
further set forth in agenda reference 21.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Our final agenda item is number 22. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of the Academic Affairs Committee that the officers be authorized to terminate concentrations in the Master of Science in Communication Management in the Klein College of Media and Communication as set forth in agenda reference item 22.
Second. Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes the report of the Academic Affairs Committee.
Thank you, Trustee Martin. Moving on to facilities, Trustee Cardino.
He's on mute.
You're on mute.
Joe, you're on mute if you're with us.
Can't see his name.
Yeah.
He's not doing anything.
There he is.
I'm unmuted.
All right, we can hear you now.
You hear me?
Yes.
Sorry about that.
We can't see you,
Mr.
but we can
Chairman,
hear.
on behalf of the Facilities Committee, I'd like to motion that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of the Facilities Committee that the officers be authorized to proceed with the Lewis Katz School of Medicine lease with civic property management at a cost not to exceed $2,076,000.
Second.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you. I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of the Facilities Committee that the officers be authorized to proceed with the lease for 425 Commerce Drive, Fort Washington, for the School of Pharmacy at a cost not to exceed $950,000.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. My final motion is that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of the Facilities Committee that the officers be authorized to proceed with the Sullivan Hall second floor mechanical, electrical, and plumbing upgrade at a cost not to exceed $483,000.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. That concludes the Facilities Committee report.
Thank you.
Those are yours or mine?
I'll let that you go. Okay, appointment of the standing committees.
Item 27, in accordance with section 6.3A of the bylaws, the members of the executive committee are as set forth in agenda reference 27. And item 28, committee assignments in accordance with section 6.2A of the bylaws, the members of the standing committees are as set forth in agenda reference 28.
Thank you. Moving on to athletics.
Mr.
Trustee Mills.
Trustee Mills had to leave the meeting, tasked me. There's no recommendations, Mr. Chairman, but the content of the meeting discussed is under tab AR 29.
Thank you. Audit committee. Trustee Scacchetti.
She with us? She may not be. For record purposes, Mr. Chairman, I will note that the report of the audit committee is available at agenda reference 30.
Thank you. Budget and finance. Trustee Gould.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The first item of recommendation is in the Budget and Finance Committee
be authorized to approve the creation of a quasi endowment for the College of Liberal Arts, as the officers be so authorized, and I so move. Second. We need a motion? for that?
Yes.
Yep. All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. The second recommendation, the Budget and Finance Committee, is the renewal of the Temple University Health System line of credit that be approved in the terms as presented, and I so move.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. That concludes my report, Mr. Chairman. Number 32, Committee on Strategic Direction. Trustee
Thank you,
Charles.
Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The report of the Committee on Strategic Direction and Long-Range Planning can be found at Agenda Reference 32. Thank you.
Thank you. Compliance, Trustee Reed.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Compliance Committee met today and received an update on the university's compliance program and discussed certain confidential matters. The committee's report can be found in Agenda Reference 33, and there are no action items to report.
Thank you. Number 34, Government Relations, Trustee Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The committee met yesterday and heard reports on the state, federal, and local government relations activities. There were no recommendations from the committee for approval. And information can be found at agenda item number 34. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. 35, Investment Committee, Trustee McNichol.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The Investment Committee met in July and September, and our report is included as Agenda Reference 35, and there are no action items. Thank you.
Thank you. Student Life, Trustee Diaz.
The committee had a public meeting November the 2nd, and the report, Mr. Chairman, is included in 36 action committee report 36.
Thank you, Trustee Diaz. Moving on to 37, Temple University Health System, Trustee Marshall.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, the report of the Temple University Health System may be found at agenda item 37.
Thank you. Following committees did not meet, which is Healthcare Enterprise and Research. Moving to the Officers Report, Treasurer's Report, Ken Kaiser.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. A recommendation that the investment reports for the 3 months ended June 30th, 2021, and grants and contracts awarded between April 1st, 2021 and June 30th, 2021 be received. Said report being included and identified as set forth in Agenda Reference 38.
So moved.
There's no motion necessary, right?
That's correct.
There is a motion.
There is no
There's no motion
Okay.
necessary.
Moving to Secretary's Report.
The recommendation is that the Board of Trustees approve the presentation of degrees in course dated December 16th, 2021 to candidates approved by the appropriate academic committees of the faculty. That does actually require.
So move.
Thank you.
Second.
Having a motion and a second, all those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Moving on to the guest speakers.
Mika is with us.
Kamika, my pleasure to introduce Kamika, who is on our selection committee for Jason, and pleased to turn the mic over to you, Kamika.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Greetings to Mr. President, to members of the Board of Trustees, and to the rest of us who are members of the Temple University community. I bring you greetings on behalf of the Faculty Senate Executive Committee, the Faculty Senate Steering Committee, and the faculty at large. Well, we're back. We're back, and we're happy to be back. The students as well as the faculty are pleased to be back in person and on campus. Most of the faculty are teaching in person in some capacity. And although they're talking about lower class size because of lower enrollment in some of their classes, they are exceedingly happy that we are back and thriving. The students tend to be talking a little bit about both the transition from being fully online for so long and then coming back and trying to get all of the college experience in one big go. And so some of their coursework has been a bit overwhelming because they're trying to do so many things. But for the most part, everyone is thrilled to be here. I did attend a talent show yesterday at the theater in the student center, and while the student comedian made light of the challenges of being masked, we are succeeding with the masking protocol, and hopefully we will be able to continue. They are a little concerned about what will happen after the holiday season, but I think we'll be fine. We're having some challenges in the arts programs where, as the city mandate has indicated that audience members don't have to show proof of vaccination to get in. So we are still having to be 12 feet away in many of our theater spaces and performance spaces. But we are moving forward and thrilled to be doing so. According to the provost, we're exceeding 94% vaccination rate, and so everyone feels comfortable. And we're pleased to kind of just be moving forward. In terms of our challenges, because of the construction in Ritter, we have continued to meet virtually in our faculty senate meetings. And we have robust attendance, probably because we're virtual, but also because I think our faculty members are really invested and engaged in both the idea of shared faculty governance, but also in the vision for Temple University as we continue to move forward. And so that's been very rewarding for me in my role as president of Faculty Senate. We continue to work with TUJ and in fact offer representative and university senate meetings later in the evening to accommodate the time difference now that TUJ is a member of the Faculty Senate. And we've just completed a slight revision of our bylaws to accommodate the union's stand on adjunct faculty, so that adjunct faculty will now be fully engaged as members of Faculty Senate. We're looking forward to working with the Provost's office for hopefully sponsoring or co-sponsoring some professional development opportunities for our faculty. And one of the continuing strands that I continue to hear is that faculty really want to know more about the Board of Trustees. And so hopefully we can invite Mr. Chairman to come to one of our meetings, or any of you to sit in on our Faculty Senate meetings so that you can get to know us as well. I'm incredibly pleased to be here, and I thank you.
Thank you.
That concludes
Invite me and I will come.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Moving on to President of Student Government, Bradley.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, President Wingard, the entire board. I'll keep my comments today relatively brief. With our first semester back on campus, cresting the hill to completion, I'm happy to say that the student body is meeting the helping us get back to normal. At a nearly 96% vaccination rate, students are doing their part to keep themselves and their community safe. And so we'll be working with the university to get these booster shots out, encouraging students to do so relatively soon. Students are back to sports games, concerts, more Temple events, and I believe school spirit is higher than it's been in a long time. And those students are busy. They're not forgetful about the issues that are important to them. Meeting our basic needs, bringing back wellness days, becoming a safer and more sustainable campus, improving access for students with disabilities, just to name a few. These are issues that I'm working on in student government, and any member of this body who wishes to work closely with me and us to address those issues will continue to find me a willing partner. I do want to give a highlight that last week, Temple Student Government organized a trip to the state capitol in Harrisburg to thank members for their continued support for state funding for our university. We brought dozens of students in and out of state government, and when all was said and done, we interacted with around 240 legislators or their staff. State Senators Tartaglione and Brown were gracious enough to have us on the floor of the Senate, which we appreciated greatly. We also had a great interaction with Lieutenant Governor John Fetterman, who invited us into his office, where we were able to discuss state funding for Temple and what it means to us. Our goal was to show these legislators that there are faces and stories behind the decisions they make when they cast their votes. And so hopefully we were able to humanize the issue of state funding a bit. And I hope that our efforts made an impact in the form of continued, hopefully increased direct financial support. All right, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Question. Brad, do you know whether any other university has thought of that to do what the senator organized?
They're not doing it like we are. To my knowledge,
I suspect we're going to see it. But good anyway.
it was a great success, and the student government at Penn State's quite jealous. If I can.
Terrific, that's great.
First, yeah.
Thank you very much. So, any old business? Any new business? All I'm going to say is excited to continue to work with our new president. Put your seatbelt on. It's going to be a great ride. Move for adjournment. Thank you, everyone. Stay safe.
Bye, everybody.